That was a gun.
I'm not voting.
If we want to build our nation.
The problem with the Somalians.
Just want to experience something else than a black man.
Move on, move
Can't be like a horse with blinkers on.
Honestly say, I was about to have sex and then I pulled
crap,
up.
but it's nice.
Hi, I'm Carla. I'm 22 years old and a postgraduate student at UCT.
Hi, I'm Roman. I'm 22 years old and I'm a final year student at UCT.
Hi, I'm Jessica. I'm 21 years old and I'm also a student.
Hi, I'm Brian. I'm a 23-year-old postgraduate student at UCT.
Hi, I'm Prusha. I'm a 20-year-old student at UCT.
Hi, I'm Cameron. I'm a 21-year-old computer science student at UCT.
I come from a quite an Afrikaans family, and the future is quite a negative topic to talk about because, you know, the country is always going to the dogs. I mean, a few years ago, my parents even got citizenship in New Zealand, you know, just for in case, you know, because, oh my gosh, the power cuts off, like, what next? So every time, like, I tell my parents, yeah, I'm starting to apply for a job for next year, it's more about, yeah, and hey, you have to hope that there's not a lot of black girls applying for that job. And it's horrible, but it's I don't quite know what to make of it. It's just, I find well, from my background, there's a very negative perception of the future. You don't stay in South Africa, which is sad.
Especially if you're white.
Oh yeah.
My dad is
Interesting.
very fatalist about it. It's like, you move out of the country, you know, Indian female, you want to go into media, there's so many Indian women on TV, get out of the country. But like, I am positive about my future. Maybe it's this blind confidence, I don't know, but I feel like when there's a will, there's a way. Yeah. And I don't want to run away from South Africa. My place is in South Africa.
Well, I know about a lot of people who moved to London, you know, I don't know, like 10, 20 years back. And the kids, you know, the family moved, you know, for the kids. And the kids are coming back to South Africa now because there aren't opportunities in London because there's more going on here.
Yeah. At the office where I work, there's a lot of talk about that. I mean, I think if you pick up most economic papers from the last 5 years, you'll see that white people are doing much, much better than pre-94. So don't worry, you will find a job.
I have a friend who works in IT. He's a software developer. And he told me that at one of the companies that he worked at, the boss would literally throw any person of color's CV in the bin without looking at it. He just determines your race by your name. If you have an ethnic name, sorry. You have no chance.
And conversely, at the place where I work right now, employment equity, our statistics have been so horrible. If she applied for a job and you applied for a job and she was absolutely brilliant, HR would literally block her submission. I kid you not.
It goes back to what Jess said earlier. Like, we can't sugarcoat it, and I agree with that totally. And you need to actually look at the numbers. Like, people are like, oh, it's only black children getting into UC. Like, look at the numbers and actually see it. I feel like we just kind of throw the baby out with the bathwater. Is that the same? Yeah.
Well, there's so many things to say, but I think that one of the biggest misconceptions of the argument is that disadvantage is for poor black people, right? And there's this misconception that, okay, well, if I'm a middle-class person of color, I'm not worthy of getting the sort of affirmation that would come with black economic empowerment. It is a poor misunderstanding of transformation. And I think like representativity is what the policy is trying to achieve. And that would cut across the spectrum in terms of diversity. But it's what happens after that. And the middle class is a big part to play in bridging the gap between the two.
Yes. Yes. I always say that because now I was very pro the old policy, you know, race-based admissions policy. And there's a whole bunch of issues with the new one, but whenever I was talking to someone about the old one, the issue that always came up was this idea of a black middle-class person getting it above a disadvantaged black person. And my issue would always be like, regardless, we still need a black graduate pool. Like, we need black graduates. And the thing is, like, because of the way that UC is structured and the way that our basic education is structured, the reality is that a person that went to a Model C school that is black is most likely to graduate. And I think that we need to be, like, conscious of those things. So, like, what's the goal? Is the goal redress? Is the goal getting an equality in the job market, in the labor market? Like, you have to kind of pick and choose. But, I mean, the honest answer is, I really don't think it should be such a big thing what class that person is, because we need a black graduate pool. We don't have one that's big enough, and guys, if I could tell you the amount of black students that come into UCT and then the amount of students that actually graduate, the numbers are so frightening.
I tutor first years, and I can clearly see by reading their work, you know, who went to a decent school, and who's not at all on the level they need to be able to pass. And I think, but that's that thing. Like, if that girl went to, you know, a good school, she would be able to pass. She would be able to go on. She'd be able to graduate and get a good job.
And is it ethical to accept students just because they're black, knowing that they're not going to pass?
Exactly.
Yeah.
But it's about giving the person the opportunity. I disagree with that. It's about giving the person the opportunity to be here. At least to have some form of tertiary education.
Proper opportunity and support them.
But I also disagree. I also think it's a problem when students come to university, don't make it, and just come here to collect debt. And not get a degree.
We need to ask ourselves, when students get excluded, is there something in place to actually guide them afterwards? Because okay, so now you're excluded, go back home. No. They've actually gotten experiences at UCT or wherever they are. You need to say, okay, so what happens to this pool now that don't actually graduate?
And they're a black pool.
Exactly. And they have skills. They're not stupid. They actually have skills. So I think that even within transformation, you need to look at the structures that are addressing that pool.
The whole policy, you know, like getting like the majority of black students in, you know, like putting them into like foundation like courses, whatever, getting EDP, extended degree programs, it does not help, you know, because at the end of the day, we sit in the same class, like lectures, we like, you know, it's the same things, like, you know, and we have to do the same essays in the same exam, you know. At the end of the day, if I don't have the resources, you know, on my own personally, like I will struggle at the end of the day. And EDP does not give that to you, you know. I mean, that's the one program at UCT, like the EDP program. I'm in the EDP program. Like resources, like it's limited. I mean, they only help you through first year, and if you like past first year, you're on your own. And I mean, like I see myself as one of the lucky ones because I've made it. I'm in my 4th year now.
Not to defend the UCT policy in any sort of way, and this is slightly controversial, is that so we live in a capitalistic society, right? So when you said what you said, it really made me think, is that okay? Well, where's the place to start? Is it the base? Probably not, actually. Because the biggest unit of change is probably with the 1%. So if you achieve redress, you probably achieve redress with the 1%. So it's probably with the black middle class. It's probably it may even explain an attitude to why a lot less focus is put on improving things like EDU programs. Because really, what will bring representativity in important strategic positions will be the black middle class.
What are the black middle class supposed to do? I'm curious to hear, because it's not like there isn't, classism doesn't exist in the black community. No.
But classism is as to be expected in the I'm saying you accept those things in the capitalistic society.
What role does the black middle class play in uplifting?
Uplifting, now that's another separate issue. Okay. But they're providing representativity in terms of ownership in the country, from a business and monetary perspective.
So like language like also puts us like in a disadvantage, and the majority is black students. Like my one friend, she's from KZN, and she felt really like I can't speak in class. Like she couldn't, she had no confidence speaking in class. And one day I had a conversation with her, and like I could hear that her English is not like, you know, like up to standard, and she was like, you know, that's my problem. And I feel embarrassed because I have the knowledge, but like I have a problem speaking it, and she just thinks like people will think that she's dumb, and you know, like, and I think it's a confidence thing, but I just think like it puts you at a slight disadvantage because you don't have the confidence speaking in class, you know, and engagement with tutors, lecturers, and stuff like that. So I just think it puts you slightly back. The language, the schools.
I think it definitely does.
Yeah.
I mean, okay, I know it's a stupid example, but I come from an Afrikaans school. So I come to UCT and suddenly everything is English. I remember my first essay, I failed miserably because I didn't quite know how to write nicely. and I also sounded silly, so I didn't want to talk in class. But I had the resources to you know, get the extra help I needed, and you know, when I got it, it's, you know, fine. But if you don't have, you know, that extra backup, it's a tough world.
But I wonder, like, there seems to be a push from the Department of Education to promote teaching kids in their home languages. Isn't that kind of contradictory.
There is a bit of contradiction there, but I wanted to go back to what he was saying a little bit, is that it's not a slight. I think I'm an engineer, and I know that the difference was massive in that for kids who are interested in studying engineering, they tell you that language and things like that are not important. When you come to university, the one or two words, your misunderstanding of those things change absolutely everything.
Yeah.
And the comprehension skills are the most important thing. Like the numbers, so from the applicant pool, everyone is good at numbers and science, but it's the language sometimes that really makes the difference between a good engineering student and a bad one.
Of English as well.
Yeah.
It's not just colloquial.
Like
street
academic
yeah.
language.
Yes.
You don't understand those words.
It's tough. Like, if for me personally, it's the challenge. Afrikaans background, it's tough. I mean, getting a 50%, you feel like a failure. I mean, you see other people getting like 70, 75, getting first for their essays, and you just think like, wow, like what happened to me? And then you think like, wow, because my English is not up there, you know, university level, like, because like your first year, you don't know anything, and it's hard because now you sit in exam, and the way they frame like questions in your exam, you're just like, what the hell?
But then
Language is power.
what
Yeah.
must happen? Like, what must be the university's language policy? Like, what?
Yeah, do you think that UCT should do what UKZN did and force students to take a...
It's so in the varsity newspaper, pick up a copy.
that
Someone wrote
yes,
an article,
I read
and
that article.
as an opinions editor, I never agreed with what she said, but I published it because I can't put my own opinion there, obviously. But basically, she was saying, like, being English is what makes UCT, the amazing university it is. I didn't. Again, that's okay. That's someone else's opinion. That's an independent opinion. Disclaimer. For me, the thing is, I don't think, like, obviously in most cases you can't lecture a whole course in a particular language. I don't know if we have the capacity to actually do that in all 11 official languages. But I think that to ignore the fact that languages play a big role would be detrimental. And for me, the best thing would be to actually have a bridging course. I'm an English speaker, and I struggle with academic language in first year. I would hate to imagine how it was for you guys. So I think the best thing would then be to develop some sort of bridging course that actually helps learners to engage with the text. Because engaging with an academic text is so totally different. So it's about actually getting them to think in the academic language. I don't know how that's going to happen. I don't know if it's workable though.
Yeah, I have a response for you too. It's that, so the issue about language, I don't think it's a tertiary level issue. Because, the language of academics is English. That's a world order issue. But the thing about promoting languages from foundation level is that apparently a lot of studies that indicate that, it helps with your early childhood development. So once they get to a certain level, it'll be easier for them to transition into English. But if it's spread out from the beginning, then they're just wasting a lot of energy in different areas.
It should be a faculty-based program. Like, you have your EDU, you have your EDP, but targeted at students. And it shouldn't be in a way like, oh my gosh, I'm targeted, I don't speak English. But it should be a way, it's a bridging course to actually say, like, we're helping you. Just to maybe interact with your fellow students. Like, that's part of university.
Rowan was touching on a thing, and I've heard this spoken about at UCT committee meetings, is that there's an issue about confidence. And sometimes you don't want to accept more students who are likely to be in EDU programs, because that creates a stigma within the races that, so now black students coming from black schools are going to go to the extended program. That creates a whole vibe. It does.
It is weird because
when you're here for yourself, you're at university for yourself, why worry?
Yeah, but it's easy as an individual to say that, but it's creating a whole host of students who have complexes. So the students themselves who feel that they are now inferior to the shorter program, and then it's the other students who have a superiority complex.
It's job to fix people's inferiority complexes.
Well, it's their job to create a space that is at least resembling something that's equal. If there's structural issues that are making it unequal, then that's
If the
that's
university didn't
flawed.
try, we wouldn't have any black people in the university. Like, if the university...
Or women.
Yeah, or women.
My dream is to have a very big impact on society.
My dream is to be part of South Africa that sees beyond race and actually looks into structural transformation.
My dream is to create an equal society in my lifetime.
My dream is to live in an equal society in my lifetime.
My dream is to be successful in life, to be so successful to give back into my community. Yeah.
My dream is to be completely happy with who I am, but also bring happiness all around me in South Africa.